Hey, welcome everybody. This is John Paul Mendoza from It's a Paul World, and we've got a very special guest today in our interview. We've got Michael Sheppard. Michael is a busy man. In fact, he told me that they get involved in auctions, 100 of them a year. That COVID's going to recede, and he's going to be doing more of those. He's been around the world, it sounds like, and he's going to be in South Dakota at FreedomFest. And Michael, why don't you introduce yourself? Give us a hint about what you guys do, and hey, welcome.
You betcha. Well, I actually, in reality, serve as Chief Executive Officer of a Nevada mining company. However, that said, I have known the founder and chairman of the board of Treasure Investment Company since 1998. Now, Treasure Investment Corporation is a relatively new company, started in, 2017. And Mark asked me if I would help them prepare them to go public. Since that is my expertise, actually my calling is to fix broken companies and administer to broken people. And I've been doing that with Nevada Mining Company and several other companies for, ever since I left Firestone about 20 years ago. In this case, this company is not broken. It is exciting, probably one of the most exciting things I've ever done. It's a fine art company that does auctions, black tie live auctions all over America, literally hundreds. We have raised since 1998 over $50 million for charities, and we split the revenue 50-50, and we supply all of the fine art, take all of the risk, the liabilities, the insurance, the shipping, everything. That is a foundation of this company. In addition, we have contracted with 39 galleries across the nation, and on contingency, split again 50-50 all the revenue, we supply them with fine art, sculptures mostly in this case. This company is profitable, more importantly, debt free. And I've been investing since I was 10. That's 65 years when I got my first coin collection and paper out. And I've never had an opportunity like this where a company is profitable, debt-free, as I mentioned, and expanding tremendously. And so we've been working with FreedomFest and Mark Skousen's outfit for several years now, since I basically joined as a consultant. I'm not an employee of Treasure Investments, I guess, which makes it more exciting. I am an investor, I am a believer, and we do trade shows as well. As you know, we've done the Barrett-Jackson shows, obviously all of the Freedom Fest, the money shows, and everywhere where we can meet potential investors and allow them to share in this amazing opportunity before we go public, before the market makers and the investment bankers take their cut, which is about 50% haircut. So this way, our prospective investors can get involved in this exciting opportunity upfront and now.
Well, it sounds like you guys have been very busy. It's interesting you say that you fix broken companies. That's in fact one of the things that I do, in my other part of my life is do turnarounds, and I've been involved in 30 turnarounds in my career so far. And today presents lots of opportunity because of COVID and what's going on. And I love the fact that you've got a really healthy company. For those of you who don't understand what it means to run a debt-free company, it means that when times get a little bit tough and things aren't looking so good, you're in better shape than just about everybody else. And it also puts you in a position where you get to call some shots that you wouldn't normally get to do. So that's quite a statement in and of itself. So what are you guys looking to do at Freedom Fest? I mean, obviously you are unique when you exhibit. I mean, I've seen some of the artwork that you do, the sculptures. Some of them are quite massive. I mean, I need to go buy a bigger house from what some of the stuff you're doing. But so what do you do at Freedom Fest? Talk to me about what happens there and why this venue works for you.
Well, we are a sponsor and have always been. That allows me to present from the main stage, the opportunity that I've just described briefly, and then to do a workshop,
Hmm.
which is 50 minutes long, where any of the members, and as I understand, Mark told me a couple of weeks ago, we had about 2,200 signed up now, and probably going toward 3,000 or so. And because there's a lot of pent up demand, as you might suspect.
Sure.
And that gives me a chance to tell the entire story, do Q&A, present the opportunity. And there are things in this situation that heretofore you would never, John, have heard of. For example, the minimum buy-in is $25,000. But for those investors who invest 50,000, they can secure their investment. And you might want to think of this personally by selecting $50,000, dollar for dollar matching in art of their choice. And so you've secured that investment, as I said. It's phenomenal. Where have you ever heard of that in any of the companies that you've
Hmm.
ever fixed or turned around before? Never. How
No.
exciting can that be?
Yeah,
And so
usually I'm on the other side. I mean, you guys have beautiful art. I usually have big piles of, well, let's just say manure that we're working through looking for the pony. So it's the opposite side of that.
it is, in fact. And so that's what we do at Freedom Fest. Then we have a booth, and we are able then to display some of the fine art that they might decide to invest in. There really are not that many investors in fine art, but there are a tremendous number of investors in a pre-IPO, when that company is preparing to go public, when they see, as you said, debt free, because you're no longer slave to debt. And when bad times hit, be they COVID or a recession,
Right.
you know you don't have to service that debt.
Well, and obviously none of the politicians have figured this out because they've got the printing press turning overtime, and they go, well, geez, look, low interest rates, what can go wrong with the debt? And all I can say is, well, and you've got some years and miles over me, but I remember when my father was in business, and prime rate went to what, 21%. Yeah, good luck borrowing money in those days if you needed to borrow money. I mean, it was, forget about it, you couldn't do it. So I commend you for that. So that sounds exciting. And so talk a little bit about the charitable things you do, because that sounds really intriguing, and sounds like it's a great way to really help the community in a way that maybe other people haven't thought about.
Well, what happened is, as you know, fundraising is not fun.
No.
It's hard. It's challenging. And when we help missionaries across the world, when they come back to America to report on their accomplishments and to ask for money, they have always told me that it's the hardest thing they have to do, but they have to ask. I'm former president of the World Bible Society here in Nashville, and former president of the American Cancer Society in Wisconsin. And the closest I have ever come to helping people, and we always look for win-win scenarios. So if you can help people by helping yourself simultaneously, that is truly a win-win. Do good by doing well. And so in this 50-50 situation, we reach out to the American Cancer Society, obviously, the Heart Fund, the Salvation Army. It goes on and on and on, literally hundreds of charities.
Right.
And if they do live auctions, we help them plan for it. We help them select the sculptures that are the best sellers for their particular demographics. And then again, we ship, they sell or not. And if they don't sell, we have them return it and we pay for all the shipping. But that's a rare occasion. And as I said, we have raised well in excess of $50 million for the charities.
Where does the art come from? Because I mean, some of your pieces are quite extraordinary. Where does that come from?
Well, this company has over 200 artists that they contract with or commission with. The lead family has in the past been the Gilearies. This company has purchased the entire Gileary estate. that is foundational. But now with the Smeltzer, and I know you've heard of Frederick Remington, we
Yes.
bought 21 original Frederick Remington molds. The Smeltzer molds, there are just several artists, well, 200 of which, that we can select from. And whatever is the best selling for the demographics, either in our galleries or that we have a separate division for galleries and separate sculptures versus for auctions. Auctions tend to go at little lower prices, although they can go as high. I've done hundreds of auctions myself. My first auction was a piece called Reflections of America by Laren Gillieri, who is still a featured artist of ours. And I sold that, actually it was Tom DeLay, Congressman Tom DeLay was the auctioneer. And Ambassador Joe Rogers purchased a piece for $75,000. And that was the beginning of the story of me doing auctions and raising money for charities. Actually, other things we've done, I've raised over $400 million for charities in 52 countries at World Bible Society and National Community Foundation. So it's a love of mine, a vocation of mine. This just gives me another outlet with Treasure Investments and Foundry Michelangelo.
Well, excellent. And obviously the artists, that helps, the artists that you're working with actually have an outlet for their art. I know there's a lot of people who are artistic, who are kind of stuck and don't have a mechanism by getting those pieces out. So what are the pieces made out of? What are some of the art? What is it made out of?
Great question. And let me revert back just for a moment, because
Sure.
I didn't say something that you reminded me I actually should say. We mentioned in our pre-conversation about the Barrett Jackson auctions,
Right.
which we exhibit. And last year, I guess it was January of 2020, before COVID, the pandemic struck, a family who represented Bill Toma, who's a famous Walt Disney Imagineer, who did the dragons for Disney and a lot of Disney creatures. They came to us, they had heard about us, researched us, and Bill Toma had passed away about 5 years or so ago. And the family wanted us to purchase Bill Toma's collection of molds, because we keep 8 foundries busy round the clock and a great distribution center and 39 galleries. And I wasn't that interested, to be very candid with you, John. They also do Harlequins, and we had enough artists. Well, they came back and sought us again and said, we've got an offer on the table. It's a lowball offer, but if you just simply meet that offer, we want to respect Bill Toma and we want to do his memory and legacy right. Would you please reconsider? Well, prayerfully we did. And honestly, I wrote a check shortly thereafter. We bought those molds, as I'm a partner with Treasure Investments, and they have been opening up new demographics for us. And so that has been phenomenal. That's one example. Now back to your latter question. We can do anything. You can do resin, which is the least expensive, bronze, stainless steel. If you saw the great 10-foot stainless steel Ferrari horse in the video that I sent, that's phenomenal. Of course, that's a hit. 1,250 pounds of stainless steel at Barrett Jackson. You might understand why that's such a hit.
Oh yeah.
Many exotic Ferrari car owners there.
Yeah, and I have to jump in and say, I don't know if you know this or not, but Da Vinci had designed a horse. Leonardo da Vinci had designed a horse, and in Milan, he had basically built the horse, or was having it built, and a war came along, and whoever was in charge of that area melted it down, and horse was gone. And in the 1960s, a Japanese, and I believe he was an architect, but a Japanese gentleman was such a fan of Da Vinci, studied and pored over his writings. And I mean, imagine translating from old Italian, Latin like that to Japanese. I don't know how you do that one. But Michael, they built that. He raised the money and built in Milan the full-sized horse. And if you ever get a chance to see it, if any of you had a chance to see it, I have had an opportunity, and I'm 6'2", and I could walk underneath the belly of this horse because that was what Da Vinci had conceived of and did. And I just had to share that with you because, I mean, I don't know if the molds are available for you guys, but think about the massive size of that, which, I just think it was just so magnificent. And the irony of it is that it was in a small park and there was no one else around. And when I asked people in Italy about it, most people were like, don't even know that it exists. But it's a true story. So if you ever go to Milan, find Da Vinci's horse. And if you're not inspired, well, I don't know what else to tell you. It's just magnificent.
Well, Mark and I will be going to Florence, Italy, to meet with the Marinelli foundry. Mark Russo, our founder, who you'll be interviewing shortly. He purchased, I think it was in 2004, I'm not sure that date, but he purchased molds from the Carazzi foundry. And that foundry owned the molds from Michelangelo and Bernini and several others.
Wow.
And so this company owns 9 of those European masterpieces. And we are in the process of producing some of those pieces now. And that's exciting. We just did one of the things, we were at the New Orleans investment conference, and one of the investors said, I have bullion, silver in storage, and I never bring it out of storage. It's for investment. Could you actually do, and we had a particular piece from Michelangelo, from the Pietà, just the mother, Mary. And could you do that if I would supply the silver? And Mark, in a heartbeat, said, you betcha. And we did. And it has now become a big seller for us. Oh. Now that opened up a whole new profit center, a whole new division in precious metals. He did a solid gold piece, which sold to a Japanese investor for $13 million. We are now in the process and have purchased the silver already, 18,000 ounces, to do the world's largest masterpiece in solid silver. How exciting is that? We'll only do one of a kind. And again, when this interview is over, remind me and I'll send you a video of it so you can actually see it in bronze. Now we're going to reproduce it in silver. So again, in answer to your question, John, we have the ability to design and to use the present molds to do anything in any medium. We can do nickel plated, gold plated, or solid gold. We are preparing right now a presentation of the Presidential American Patriot with a great seal of the United States of America to present to former President Trump at Mar-a-Lago.
Well, you guys sound like you are busy, busy, busy. So let's talk a little bit about FreedomFest for just a second, because I know that you guys have been big supporters, and you know Mark and Joanne well, and all of that. And I think one of the things that I always find interesting, especially having done a lot of these interviews, is so why should somebody go to FreedomFest? Michael, obviously, you could, you're a comfortable guy, you could just stay there, but why go to FreedomFest? Why make the journey? And of course, now we're going to South Dakota. So what's the allure?
Well, the easy answer, John, would be, from a treasure investment perspective, is that it is our most profitable show. Now, why is it the most profitable when we do so many others? The other shows like Barrett-Jackson, for example, that's really not for investors. That's for car lovers.
Right.
But it's car lovers with a lot of money to buy or sell. So most people with money, discretionary income, can become investors relatively easy. And so that's why we go there. But Freedom Fest is different. It's free thinkers, number one. Number two, it's Mark Skousen and the Skousen family.
Right.
These are spirit-filled, intelligent, friendly, comfortable folks to have fun with. And if you can make money and have fun doing it, once again, a win-win scenario.
Right.
And I like to be around the people who like to be around the Skousens. And I'm director of investor relations. So I get a chance to not just meet the people at a trade show or an investment show, but to follow up with them, to get to know them, to establish a relationship, to not only like them, but to love them and to pray with them and to pray for them. And
Mm.
so it's my favorite show.
Well, hopefully it'll be your favorite show if you're out there listening to this, and I'll give you directions that you don't even need to go to Google Maps. Here you go. And by the way, if you don't understand the interstate highway system, go back to your fourth grade teacher and ask for a refund. But here you go. All you do is you locate Interstate 90. You determine if you are east or west of Rapid City, South Dakota. If you are east of Rapid City, you head west until you get to the wide spot in the road called Rapid City, and you are there. If you're on the west side, you head east and you get there. And this will be from January 21st through the 24th in Rapid City, South Dakota, 2021. And the state never closed down. South Dakota never closed down because of COVID. It's going to be a great environment, and hopefully you're going to be there. You get to meet great people like Michael and the company, and you'll get to see some massive art. I mean, I got to tell you, some of this stuff is just huge. I've seen your booth. I've talked to you before, and it's great to go through and talk with you now. So as we're working through this, Michael, let's talk about a couple other things. One of the things that I find interesting at Freedom Fest is that there are, as you say, alternative type investments. This is not, so if they invest in art, that's one thing, but you guys have tied it to this aspiration of being a pre-IPO. Talk a little bit about where that ends up and what that looks like, because clearly it's not just buying, what did you say, 15,000 ounces of silver turned into an art object, but it's beyond that. It's actually where you can turn it into an investment, a true investment.
You bet. I'm not, at least in the past, I'd never been an art lover because I didn't understand it. And I'd never invest in things I don't understand. But because I knew Mark and because I was there at the beginning at the business model, actually, what happened, I was a senior certified financial planner.
Mm.
And I was doing a financial planning seminar in Lake Oswego, Oregon. And one of the state planners, attorneys, said, can I take you to lunch? I want you to meet a fellow. And it was Mark Russo. And he talked to me about this business model. He said he got a piece of art and he sold it to a friend for $5,000. And about a year later, the friend gave it to a charity and invited Mark to attend the gala event, the auction. And it started off at 5,000, and there were still 20 bidders at 50,000. And Mark went, that's $1 million. You think, Michael, that this could actually become a business? I said, you betcha. And I'll help, and did. And that's how this really began. And so, now they say the rest is history. It's phenomenal. And that's a great opportunity. And because we have, as you mentioned, investors that are very open-minded, and when they hear about a pre-IPO and the way in which this company operates and its explosive scaling up ability, they say, we want to know more. And that's why we want to get them to the booth first, or the main stage at the opening ceremonies, and then to the workshop. And the other thing that we do, John, and this is open to you personally, we are so convinced that this opportunity is not for everybody, but for the right person, that we invite those people like yourself to come to the state of Washington, battleground Washington, where you'd fly into Portland, you'd stay about a day and a half and fly back. We will pay your way, first class, round trip, and your lodging and your food, because we know that 97% of the people that come and visit become investors and become part of our family of shareholders. We're nice guys, but we do it because it's also good business.
Interesting. Well, that's definitely a different approach. And the thing that always struck me when I talked to you fellas is that you had started to buy these molds from over the course of history. And I did not know about the Michelangelos and those types of things, and making those available or making them accessible. Maybe that's the right word.
Yes.
To a larger, better audience is, I think, valuable. I think that far too much of what we see today is that we so embrace the new that we forget about the history, the heritage that we all share in one way or another. Some of these things will get lost to time if someone doesn't really pick up on them. Sounds like what you guys are doing is doing just that, and then making it so somebody can actually say, I have this, it means something, and it's something that becomes a legacy for their family too.
Right, and you can make money as well. I mean, there are several, well, I don't know, but several maybe is a stretch, but the exit strategies for me personally, and I couldn't in good conscience present this investment opportunity if I were not a believer and hence put my money where my mouth was. And in this case, I did from the beginning and have continued to acquire shares. I just acquired 500,000 shares recently.
Mm.
And that means I'm even more of a believer, obviously. And we do, not only do we discount the art at FreedomFest at 50% of its gallery value, but we also allow them to purchase shares at the same 50% discount, which is pretty phenomenal. The exit strategies here, John, from a potential investor's perspective would be, of course, taking the company public. That's really a no-brainer to see where that starting share price, trading price goes, and whenever you want to exit, you can. Another exit strategy is via dividends, because we are a profitable company that once we scale up to where we want to be and are
Right.
comfortable, we can start sharing those profits rather than putting 100% of the profits back into scaling up the company. The third would be, Mark has done this 2 times in his career. He has gotten unbelievable offers to buy the companies that he has previously run. And he did on behalf of his family, himself, and his shareholders. And that's what we want to do again. And that's what may happen. As a matter of fact, I flew into Portland in May 19th, and we met with the world's largest bullion dealer, their owner and founder, Scott Thomas, American Precious Metals. And we are now preparing and shipping to them smaller, scaled down sculptures in silver for their clients and customers on an exclusive basis. I flew back into Portland just the other day to meet with the owner of the world's largest art galleries. You may have heard of them, John, Park West. They do all the cruises.
Right.
And you've seen their little mini galleries, and they do live auctions right on the cruises. Well, we have that day we entered into a partnership verbally. Now we will be providing for them exclusive sculptures for their demographics, which are family oriented, maybe not quite as wealthy, so a lower price point. And they just ordered 80 sculptures. They've just, cruises have just started, and they're now up to 50 cruises now already, and that's expanding every day. So those are just 2 things that our investors have I just wrote an investor letter over the weekend and sent it out. And so they just heard of that. So how exciting can that be?
Well, it sounds like you've got a lot of great things going on. And so what's the website? How do people find out before they go to Freedom Fest? Or if they're not going to go to Freedom Fest, they could go, contact you, Michael, and get in touch and say, well, Michael, we want to hear more about it. Or,
Well, let
maybe
me see
we
if
maybe
I
want to
can.
buy some art.
Okay, here we go. Www.Treasure Investments Corporation, and it's corp.com.
treasureinvestmentscorp.com.
Yes, thank you.
Excellent. All right. Well, I just want to thank Michael Sheppard for spending some time with us. And, it's an exciting time, especially as the world starts opening back up. And I look forward to seeing both Michael and Mark at Freedom Fest. If you've never seen their art, you are in for a treat. It is something that is quite exceptional. Some of these pieces are quite large. By the way, what did that Ferrari horse end up selling for? Did you get
Well,
a buyer?
oh, sure, several. The gallery price or the value is 300,000, but at shows we do a 50% discount, so we have sold them at 150,000, and it comes on a turntable, which is fantastic to display and to put on a lawn or in front of a museum. Or the last one is going to a new car barn in Scottsdale, Arizona. And it comes with a autographed picture of Enzo Ferrari, who the Ferrari company actually commissioned Lorenzo Guillieri to do this Ferrari stallion. We also have, I didn't even know there was a Porsche stallion, but there is, and we have that as well in bronze, nickel plated, or silver. So it's phenomenal.
Very exciting. Well, Michael Sheppard has been my guest, and it's treasureinvestmentscorp.com, right? Did I say it right?
You betcha. Yes, sir.
treasureinvestmentscorp.com. Go check it out. Make sure that you come in and stop by when you see Michael at Freedom Fest. Say hello. And we look forward to seeing all of you at Freedom Fest. And hopefully you're going to be there July 21st to the 24th. I wouldn't miss it for anything. You have instructions on how to get there, and we'll see you soon.
John, may the Lord bless you much more than you deserve.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.